So this Founder in Cars series is really nice because I can display a little bit of my entrepreneurship, but also my passion for cars, and try to give you life lessons that I have learned myself, but also from the business sense, some tips and tricks, and also my love for cars. So it's a nice triangle of passions, and I'm passionate about people, I'm passionate about business, but I'm driving also always as much pleasure as I can, or at least what is relevant for this situation, because also situation can differ in time. So sometimes some performance cars are very accessible and therefore also very interesting to drive, and it could be in a later stage in your life that things differ. And I will come back to that specific topic now, in the next video or now. So what am I on about? This is a Founder in Cars series, and I mentioned in my last video that sometimes there is a period in your life when performance cars are very accessible, and then you should really go for it, and in other time frames it could be a little bit different. It's not that you don't have the passion for performance anymore, but for example the rules can be a lot different, that the maximum speed can be reduced significantly, which is the case in the Netherlands. So instead of 120, 130, there's now the new standard of 100 km an hour top speed on the highways. Only on some situations this is different. For example, at a very early time in the day or a very late time of the day, this can alter again, which is beneficial. So then the 100 km an hour restriction is then lifted, and then you have 120, 130 kilometers an hour again. So that's the beneficial part. But what I'm telling, in the past, if you had 120, 130 km an hour on average, then a car with more performance, of course, pays out a lot more than when you have 100 km an hour. There's no car, unless you're referring to the Twizy, or for example, as a car which is restricted at 80 kilometers an hour at the top level, that cannot reach 100 km an hour, so you don't need that anymore. Of course, performance is always nice, but also if you have so much restrictions and you don't want to lose your license, of course, if you go over the top, then you will be at peril. I can say you that. So many cars that can easily double that 100 km an hour with two fingers behind, two fingers in the nose, as they say in the Netherlands, or both hands or one hand behind the back. So performance is not that important anymore in that sense, but you still can have the benefits of performance. You have better brakes, better road holding. You can also, if necessary, flee from peril, from danger. So there are benefits that are regardless of the restriction, of course, because those are specific situations that are very rare, but can occur, of course. But also the thing is there, if all the cars are becoming faster and faster, where all the restrictions are increasing and increasing, cars become heavier, faster, more powerful, etc., etc., then there is this thing, if you have that restriction in place, but also so much power, you can only exploit a limited amount of that full potential of the car or the motorcycle in most cases, and therefore it's more interesting to go for a very lightweight, pure type of sports car instead of an over-the-top, very powerful, heavy sport car, in my opinion, because you can still experience the exhilarating drive, the pure driving emotion, and you can also exploit more of the potential more of the time. So therefore I think, and I'm driving now, Suzuki Swift Sport, which gives you more miles a mile, even than my Tesla Model S, if you stay within the legal limitations. That's crazy, that Tesla Model S had over 500 horsepower and could have 0 to 100 in 4.2 seconds, something like that. So it was very nice type of sports car. And of course it is nice, and you can still accelerate to that 100 km an hour. But it's also that you oftentimes, because of the traffic intensity as well, that you cannot exploit it. You're just using 5 to 10%, and the Swift Sport I can easily use 30% or even 40% in many occasions, which gives you more thrills, in my opinion. Also, the thing is that electric cars are still beneficial as a sports car in the Netherlands because they are not taxed by BPM, which is a carbon output tax, an additional tax next to the value added tax that you already have. But also cars that are quite light and fuel efficient. This Swift Sport now has the hybrid extension. Also have benefits there because they are light, which benefits fuel consumption, and therefore also the BPM is decreased. But also because the hybrid system, which is a very elementary type of hybrid, but it does work, this 48 volt smart hybrid system, and it does decrease CO2 emission and thereby the BPM tax. That's beneficial as well. It's not only that you use less fuel, but also you have the benefit that you don't have to pay as much BPM as you would otherwise have to. So those are some great advancements that have been made. That should also be considered because, if, in my opinion, I would love to drive a 911, but I would not love to pay value added tax of over 25,000 euros for a base level 911. And also for a base level 911 then pay over 40,000 euros of BPM in addition to the net price of the car. That's just nonsense in my opinion. This car costs 4,000 euros in BPM, which is 1/10 of that of the base 911, whereas the base 911 does not have more CO2 emission, not double the amount of CO2 emission as this car has, but then it is already tenfold of BPM, so it's such an intense, staggering way, and it is increasing and increasing. So in time, in my opinion, where we are going to as performance car enthusiasts in the Netherlands, if you want to have a new car, or you're obliged to have a new car because of your job or whatever, and also the fuel emission zones, the gasoline emission, the exhaust emission zones that we are now also getting increasing and increasing. You need newer type of cars. So what you need to do then is get a car that is as fuel efficient and fun to drive as possible. And how do you get that? Because those are oftentimes two things that cannot be combined. Get a car that is as light as possible. Because light cars are more fuel efficient, of course, because they don't have to lug around all that additional weight. So that's a benefit, more fuel efficient. You get less BPM, so the CO2 tax, which is a major part of many of car price that you have to pay from the dealer. And you have the benefit of less road tax, so 3 benefits already. And the 4th benefit is because they are so light, they can still have the same type of engine. So then the power to weight is increased, which gives you still decent acceleration, might not be sport car type of acceleration, but also because they're so light, they're so easy to maneuver. So you have a very playful type of car. So those 5 reasons are very important to get a very light car. So electric car or very light ICE internal combustion engine car, so diesel or gasoline. And hybridization can also help tremendously, of course, because in the simulated environment where they think about the amount of fuel needed and also CO2 emitted, if a large part can be bridged in that simulation by electricity, this will decrease the BPM again. So not only fuel emission is great then. My wife now drives a BMW 330e, which is a plug-in hybrid. So for many tests around the house and also part of driving to her work can be done pure on electricity, which is beneficial because electricity is approximately half the price of fuel, gasoline for example. But also you have a lower road tax, which is half in her case as compared to a car of the normal weight. And she has for the longer distances still a gasoline engine that she can just exploit. So very easy to fill up, quick and easy process, which is of course extremely beneficial. And because there is still a hybrid system, if you release the throttle, it tries to recuperate a lot of the energy. So that keeps the warping of the brakes at bay, And also, once that energy is recuperated, it can also give it back to the system, which decreases fuel consumption again. Well, I hope this has illustrated what I wanted to convey to you, and perhaps it gives you some interesting thoughts also for your own market if it's not the Netherlands, because I think this is a trend both in the Netherlands but also European Union wide and also outside that. Many regions are now trying to reduce fuel consumption, especially the pollution that the cars can give by taxing CO2 emission. Hope this helps. Found a car out.